Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. I am so excited about today's topic and today's guest. Chivon John is on the show today. Chivon is a workplace wellness expert, a speaker, a wellness educator, and she's devoted to helping leaders reimagine success and what it means to be well. That's just literally the one sentence. Chivon is so many things, and she is doing so much in this space. And what's so cool is I've known Chivon for, I think, 10 years or so. And she has been talking about this for 10 years since I've known her. She is in the world of wellness, doing the work, teaching us how to do it. And what's so exciting is that this industry, I read that it went from a $4.3 trillion industry in 2020 to it's supposed to expand to a $7 trillion industry by 2025. And Chivon is truly on the leading edge of this conversation. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Chivon John. Chivon, thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to interview you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you too, Gwen.
Right. We are friends, so it's more than an interview. It's a conversation, but also it's really exciting. I'm just so inspired by you. And so I'm thrilled to have you on the show. So I'd like to kick off the conversation by asking you, what is going awesome in your world these days?
I love this question. What's going awesome for me? I think what's going awesome is just being immersed in community. I feel so blessed to have an amazing community of friends and family, and I've just been really leaning in through going to run clubs, spending time with friends, spending time with family members. Like, I feel that that is a very big, awesome part of my life that I'm very grateful for.
Ooh, I love that so much, especially coming out of the last couple of years when so many of us were so isolated and didn't see people or do much. That's a beautiful thing to hear. So I'm so excited to talk to you because as a wellness expert, as a workplace wellness expert, this is truly the foundation of what people need to actually be successful. And this is where this is the space you work in and love to talk about. So first of all, could you just share with us what got you into the wellness world? What made you say, I need to work in this industry?
Yeah, so I haven't met many folks who work within the wellness sphere without having like some type of personal connection. There's always some sort of backstory, whether it's their own personal story or someone that they're closely related to. But for myself, what drew me to the wellness industry, quote unquote, is just my own personal journey with well-being and unwellness, as I like to say. So I've had my own personal struggles with like mental health. I've experienced burnout, a little bit depression and anxiety, and having gone through or still ongoing, because like wellness is a very much long-lasting journey. It really inspired me in going through those different various markers in life to know that we don't have to do it alone. And navigate through these challenges alone, and also realizing like how much our well-being plays such a fundamental role in our being, our existence, our sense of self, a way that we relate and show up at work, the way that we show up with family, the way we show up in community, and how nothing is really possible unless we're good and that we have the things, the conditions for us to be well. And I think the last couple of years has really pushed that to the forefront, where we're seeing that a lot of the things that we've considered necessary for our well-being may not be the things that we might need, and the things that are necessary are not equitable or accessible to all. So I think having gone through different experiences, having the opportunity to learn or to learn from teachers or just learn through my own healing, it really inspired me to kind of take all of those experiences and use them for good, because a lot of times our experiences with unwellness, it comes with a little bit of darkness. And I think for me, it was about being able to pull the light out of that and want to be able to help and support in a positive way to others.
Well, a lot to unpack there, but something that's just coming to mind, because mental health, and you mentioned going through and still working through anxiety and depression. If somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, I am in the depth of despair. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you have any suggestions for somebody just like, oh, where do I even begin?
Honestly, I would say keep going. I honestly, I feel you and I see you, and I can't say there's one specific thing because everyone's journey is going to be different, but I want them to know like that you matter, that there is light within the darkness, and it's important to just do what we need to do to help support ourselves, whether it's like accessing different resources, being able to, seek out support and help through different means, different communities. But I would say that, you're not alone. As much as those feelings when you're in the thick of it, it can always feel like no one understands or no one will understand, but know that you're not alone and it does get better.
That in. It's interesting nowadays too with you go on social media and everyone's like, my life's amazing, everything's going extremely well. And I always admire you. You're always so real. You protect your energy when you need to. You share like it's you're just I always see you as somebody that like so intentional. And as I was thinking about this interview today, I was like, Chivon is truly a trailblazer, because working in workplace wellness, that wasn't a thing. Like workplace wellness, it was like, yeah, take care of yourself, come to work, get the job done. Can you share with us what actually inspired you to work in wellness in the workplace?
Okay, well, first off, thank you for calling me a trailblazer, because like I'm like, oh, okay, who is she talking about? So that's first thing. I'm like, okay, I thank you. But the question about why workplaces when it comes to well-being, I think because we spend a significant portion of our lives and our time at work. And I think there's this misconception that work and life are separate, like there's work-life balance, and I've never really loved that term because it's very integrated when you really think about it, and especially now as the lines between work and life have become even more and ever increasingly blurred, it's hard to separate the two, especially when you do work that you're very deeply passionate about. Like the separation, it feels very, very difficult to make that distinction. And I think for me, and having personal experiences where I was experiencing my mental health challenges, they were coming up at work. I was using work as well to mask a lot of the things that I was going through. So a lot of overworking, experiencing microaggressions through different relationships with at different companies and in different roles. So many different, like having experiences where I didn't feel psychologically safe or safe at work, dealing with racism, all these different things that had a direct hit on my well-being, right? And that a yoga class or a meditation class was not going to be able to, quickly fix, right?
Band-aid.
Exactly, right? So having, that awakening and understanding that when we go to work, we don't just like leave ourselves at home. We bring ourselves to work, and obviously we can't always do that in its truest forms, where because for many different factors of not feeling safe or not having the environment to do that, but we essentially bring our humanity hopefully to work, and ideally we should be in spaces where we are able to be human, and often that is not the case, right? And we might enter places where that's either sold to us or we feel that might be the case, and you get there and you're realizing that You don't feel that you're safe. You don't feel like you belong. You feel like you're in circumstances where you're dealing with overwork, overwhelm, lots of different things. And also on top of that, and I think the last couple of years have really brought that to the surface, is that life continues to still happen while you're at work, and you bring that into the workplace with you. We all experience the loss of loved ones. So you have grief. You bring that grief to work. And yes, you might have a bereavement policy, but those 3 or 5 days is not enough to package those emotions. So you'll be there sitting with that. We have folks who are caregivers, at various different types of caregivers who are birthing parents, caregivers who are the partners of the birthing parents. We have caregivers of elders. We're at that age now where our elders are getting older and having to deal with all of the things that come with now becoming a caregiver to a loved one. All of these different things that come in, and we may not see the link directly of them being sort of a wellness issue or fall into the wellness bucket, but they do, right? So knowing that when we go to work, we're showing up as humans with human stuff, human challenges, lots of things. It's not enough to say that from a workplace perspective that this is something you do on your own time. Because when we're here in the workplace, we're all here under the mandate and the mission of working together collectively. And why should that not be the same when it comes to our well-being? Right? We can't work together be brought in under, we all worked with specific values and specific mission and directions and strategy, all rallied together. But when it comes to how you take care of yourself or how well you are in doing that, that's on you. And that never sat well with me, doesn't sit well with me. It feels like a very big disconnect. And it's not only limited to work. I think when you look outside of work, wellness is usually sort of seen as this thing is, it's up to you. It's your individualized sort of responsibility. And when we really think about it, we need each other. It has to be a collective responsibility. There's so many other collective aspects that impact our well-being in terms of the ability for us to access certain things. So I think that's what really drew me in, was realizing when I was going through many different circumstances and seeing like, oh, wait, like I still got to work through all of this, or not realizing or being in situations where you didn't feel supported or wishing that you had a certain type of support, and being sort of hit at every turn with kind of like responses that you wouldn't expect, right? So I think that was really what motivated me to make a mark in this area, or make this kind of the area that I wanted to kind of spend some time and hopefully make some good contributions.
Yes, it's just even being around you and learning from you. There's so much to learn. And this truly, well-being and wellness is the bedrock of healthy companies. As you said, bring your humanity. If your humans are unwell and not feeling psychologically unsafe, or just not taking care of themselves, being burnt out, how are you going to increase your business if your people are unwell? Like,
you can't expect performance or high performance or optimal. They're all the big efficiency words. If people are not doing okay, it's like when you think about it with athletes, like high performance athletes have to train, they rest, they're not on 100% of the time. It's the same thing when it comes to when we're working as well too. Like we can't be on 100% of the time. We can't demand like this 110% performance if we are not taking care of ourselves or have the conditions in order to do that as well too.
Yes. And that leads me to ask you, what's so exciting is that you're building a new company, Lightwork. And as I've known you for many years, I'd love to hear a bit more about how are you building Lightwork so it works for you?
Oh, I love this. Okay, so I think as like to folks who have been in the entrepreneurial like path for a while, we know that it can be intense, right? Especially if you're starting something new, you want to do all of the things. I know for myself, I love learning. I am a recovering perfectionist. I am somebody who is team too much at times. And with this, I am constantly being very intentional about making sure that I am following a pace that is in alignment with my current capacity, because my capacity has changed. I also was very intentional and have been trying to be also very intentional on a regular basis, to make sure that I live up to the name of my company. It's called Lightwork, right? And it means that it is something that is meant to bring about ease. It's looking at work from a different perspective in terms of, taking away kind of the heaviness that is often associated with work and all the associated things that can have an impact on our well-being. So for me, when approaching this new venture, I don't want to bring heaviness to it. And I have to be honest, like I have to catch myself sometimes, because you might get excited, or there's like sometimes a self-imposed pressure that I might put on myself to be like, oh, I should do this, or maybe I should think about that, and I have to like check myself regularly and do like just weekly check-ins to be like, okay, how are we feeling? What are we doing? What's working? What's not working? And that's a question I like to ask myself. And also at the beginning and the start of this was like asking myself, like what are some things that maybe, or rules or beliefs or practices that I used to have or follow that may not be serving me well right now in this season, or may not serve me well for this particular venture, right? So knowing that I have a different capacity, knowing that I want to create something that is very much in alignment with ease, that is not following the path of doing things super, super quickly or fast, just to say that I did it super quickly or fast, knowing that I want to just run my own race, that I be intentional about doing that. And when I have those moments where there's that misstep, also being self-compassionate and being like, showing myself that grace and not internalizing that. So I think for me, it's been about taking some time to sort of audit some beliefs, being okay with, taking time, like not having to race to the finish because I define what the finish line is. And a big difference for me with this venture is like really leaning into the value that I have about community and collaboration. I think often when it comes to what we celebrate, when it comes to success, it's always about, the individualized success or somebody overcoming something or doing something really amazing and epic. But when we think about it, no matter what the type of success is, no one does that alone, right? Like we're always have some type of support. So what has been really different with this and what I have been really loving, and something that I realized that I was really craving, was the opportunity to work and partner with others. So I've been really intentional about with different ventures that I might work with different organizations, bringing in other folks that I know who are amazing and brilliant. So my good friend Shireen Ashman, we're partnering. Yeah, so we're partnering on projects together through Lightwork and her company Sake, putting things together for organizations. When things might come my way in terms of opportunities, if I either don't have the capacity or don't think it's the best fit for me, and what I mean by that often is that I could do it, but I may not necessarily should do it. Just because I can doesn't mean I should, right? I'll pass it along to somebody else who I think is amazing and brilliant and who would do a much better job at it. Even though I might have the subject, I might have some expertise in that area, I know someone who is even better, and who can teach me a few things and I can learn from them. I'm passing it over to them. Just because it came to me doesn't mean I need to keep it. right? So I think that that's what's been very different in this is like that discernment, that self-compassion, collaboration and community, and just being okay with creating a version of success and light work that is very much my own.
Oh, it's like oxygen, you know? Um, I have to say, just something that came to mind about when you were mentioning passing opportunities. First of all, that's beautiful because it's such an abundance mindset that you're in. It's not like, oh, I need this, I need to work on this, even though it's like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Pass the ball, something better will come in. But also, you sent one of the most profound emails I've ever seen, just because we all need a reminder of this. We think everyone knows what we're up to and what we need in life. And you just sent an email to like your community saying very clearly, like, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm looking for. Thank you. And I was like, right. Can you just maybe riff on that? What got you to just be like, hey, world, here's where I'm at?
Like, so I think it goes back again to what I was saying about wanting to immerse myself very much about in community and releasing this belief that I have to figure everything out on my own. And to your point about letting people know, like, here's what you're doing, like, I think it was more of that. It's just like, there's many different things that I would love to do and aspire to, and recognizing that I can't do this by myself. And there are so many amazing people in my community, in my network, that would want to help me if they can, or just letting them know what I'm doing, and also let them know that I'm here to help you as well too, even if it's just like cheering you on, or please let me know. I add my note, I was like, let me know if there's things that I can help you with, or what are you working on, or let's get coffee together. Because I think we're in a time right now where everyone's super busy. Like, we're connected through these different apps, but we're only getting highlight reels of each other's lives, which makes sense, right? Like, it's impossible to truly put everything out there to everyone, and you shouldn't. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of just like busy doing a bunch of different things. And even though you might put things out there or not post things, people don't really know. Like, we don't have a chance to actually really get to know, like, what's going on, or what you need help with, or what you would like to celebrate with somebody. And I think it was just an opportunity to, again, take the narrative about like, hey, you don't just have to wait until it's done to present, hey, here's this thing. It's like, hey, this thing is in progress right now, and I would really appreciate any good vibes, support, any referrals or different things about what's happening right now. Like, I'm working on something, and here are all the different things that are happening right now. And if it speaks to you, great. Just letting you know. If not, that's great too. But I also want to, as much as like, here's an ask, or, here's what's going on, please also let me know. So I think it's easy to just be connected to each other, like very superficially, but not really know what's truly happening or what you might need help with. So I thought that was like just an opportunity to just step outside of the bubble, and take away kind of this belief as well too, that it's not safe to do something like that. Because I think an affirmation I have for myself, and I think it kind of went viral on the internet a few months ago, was like, it's safe to be seen trying. And that really like stuck with me, because as someone who's a recovering perfectionist, like, you don't want to be seen trying, you want to be seen as an executionist, or you want it to be seen done. So for me, that was a way, and again, like, trying new paradigms with this type of work of wanting to create something very easeful, it has to be safe to be seen trying. So you have to let people know that you're trying, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's okay. So I think for me, it was important to do that, because I've had many a project that people have not seen, because there was that fear to be seen. So
yes, that speaks to me. Absolutely. Woo. Especially, I mean, I feel like if someone's listening to this or watching this, they will definitely relate to this. You're drawn to this conversation for a reason, whoever's watching this. What can you try? What can you put out there, even though it's not, done? Like Chivon didn't email us and say, hey, everyone, here's everything I accomplished. It was like, here, it was layered, it was real, it was honest. And that's why it's like stuck to me. It's like, right, we can do this.
In progress things. Like, I think there was nothing, yeah, because it's like, here's an in progress thing that's coming. Here's another thing that I'm doing or I'm starting. Like, and that's okay. It's okay to share the things as it's happening. So it was like really an exercise of building the muscle to remind myself that it's safe to let people see that you're trying, and it's safe to also be seen. Right. So I think that I like to, and sometimes it's a little bit of a bad habit of getting to this cocoon of just like, I'm just going to do the thing behind the scenes and then I'll pop up when it's like, when it's ready. I might give you a glimpse or here too, but it's never in its messiest state. And I think the messiness is what's needed, right? I think that's what we really relate to. And it gives us permission to know that we don't have to have all the answers to everything. We will never, ever have the answers to everything. And that people want to support you, right? Like, I think it's easy to just get in your head and be like, everyone's busy. Like, I don't want to bother anyone, and it's like, no, like if people will resonate, they will. And even if they don't respond, it's okay too. Because on the other end, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives either. So it's like, send it out and good things will come back. That's the intention.
Everyone soak that in, take it in. I feel like I really appreciate hearing that. I needed to hear that for sure. So something that you are working on that's really exciting is the Easeful Ambition deck. Can you tell us a little bit about the deck you're creating? Tell us about it. What is it?
Yeah, so Easeful Ambition, it's a card deck, which is essentially something that kind of arose from just seeing a need to just change the way that we kind of approach our relationship with like our goals, our ambition, our work. And I think it like the idea came to me like at the beginning of the pandemic. So that just shows you again, like how long I've been in this sort of cycle of like just kind of like marinating with things and allowing things and projects to be birthed when they need to be birthed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, it was recognizing that like even during a time of like so much change and upheaval, we're still working super hard. Like I don't and having to work super hard and noticing that my capacity was totally different. So like at the height of the pandemic, it was like one of my busiest times at work. And at that same time, also reckoning with the fact that my capacity was so different and realizing like this is not sustainable. And I don't even have enough to give back and pour back into me and other personal projects and things that I also want to birth. So it kind of just it started off as like, just some journaling of recognizing like, I want something different. And, and I think that, maybe other folks might resonate with something like this. So I love card decks. I collect tons of card decks. And I thought that this would be a really great way to share kind of this particular like product or idea. So essentially Easeful Ambition is like a deck with 4 different sections. So the first section is like deep work, which invites folks to kind of reimagine or explore their kind of current relationship with like work and success and ambition. Like, how do you define success? Like, what are sort of your relationship with hard work? Like, what are some of the beliefs that maybe you've had over time that are no longer serving you right now? Maybe what are some things that you would love to do if you weren't afraid of like failure or judgment or things like that? Inner work is essentially an opportunity to have kind of like those pep talks when we're feeling sort of overwhelmed, like those reminders to let us know that we can reimagine something different for ourselves. Because like just as someone who is pivoting and doing different things, as I mentioned before, like I constantly have to check in because things happen. We're like, oh, I gotta rush, and it's like, wait, maybe I don't need to do that. So that section is there where you could pull a card to kind of just, when you need those moments to just kind of like calm you down, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you just need a reset. There's a section on reimagining. So I have been like really just infatuated and like obsessed with the whole concept of like reimagining. I think the last, couple of years have really showed me that something else is possible, right? I think for a lot of folks, like when you think about the big sort of movements of like quiet quitting and great resignation and all these different catchy names, but ultimately it's all about reimagining something different, because we've seen, hey, we've kind of been on a hamster wheel for a while and this isn't working, and it's not working for everybody. So reimagining is an opportunity and an invitation for us to kind of think about how can you maybe do something different for yourself, right? And then the last section is about recharging, which is very much the wellness and self-care. So it has like a set of like just quick tips to help you during the day, to help with like regulating your nervous system. You need a quick tip just to kind of like practice something as you work to help center and focus on your well-being. So that's pretty much the card deck in a nutshell. And it was really about giving folks an opportunity to just approach the way that we, chase our goals, how we relate to being ambitious in a new way. I think for me, like my definition with ambition has really changed over time, where it has been very much centered, before initially on being ambitious at work, like hitting your goals, hitting your KPIs, getting your titles, your big wins, your promotions, etc. And we're also recognizing that that same work ethic also needs to be, or we should also aim to apply that to other aspects of our lives. So like, how can I be ambitious with my relationships? How can I create, be ambitious with how I take care of myself? Like, how can I like apply that ambition to, maybe having hobbies that I don't monetize, like to having other goals that are not only centered on my livelihood, right? So I think it's that opportunity. I think that's what really has been birthed in putting that together. And what I'm hoping people will get out of it.
I am so excited to get my hands on one of those decks and also give them as gifts. And I also just had a vision of like companies buying the decks for all of their,
that's so cool.
I almost said students, but all of their
employees. Well, thank you. Hopefully that happens, because there will be a section on the site for Easeful Ambition at work. So I love that you said that, because that is also an offering with this deck, is that it's for individuals, but also for organizations. So I have also some special packages for folks to work with organizations to talk a little bit about how we can, do things a little bit different when it comes to well-being strategy, and having opportunities to bring in some decks for their employees.
That is so cool. It's so, I was just kind of reminded, like learning happens with a card deck. Learning happens through recipes. Learning happens through like, we got to get back to like in-person stuff too. And I love that so much that you have this deck, because it's just like, as an employee, especially us as like information age workers, pick it up, change the course of your day through a question, through a micro moment. So I think it's genius, and I can't wait for the deck.
So much. Yeah, I'm hoping it's just like little micro moments of learning or reflection, because that's all it needs. But yeah, like I just in creating this, like my eyes have been open to just the amazing ways that you can use card decks as like learning tools. Folks use them as recipe cards, like all like it's not just tarot cards. Like people do walk things where you can use it as a really great communication and like almost like course like type of vehicle for folks for micro learning.
It's so true. Like I have like a card deck, and I actually like whenever I pick one up, I take photos of it and text it to my mom. And it's like a way we communicate with like, I see you, or like, here's a little inspirational moment. Like card decks rule, people. So like,
I have a whole stack on like shelf. So
can you like share with us more of your card decks in life? Like I want to see you picking cards in life. So I'm gonna have to stay tuned your Instagram stories.
post like probably closer like to the launch, but like I'll
Yeah.
share the decks that I have. But like I really love the Rest deck from Trisha Hersey, from Nat Ministry. Like her deck
Oh yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So she's got an amazing deck about rest. It's all about like 50 practices on like how to reimagine and look at our definition of rest as a practice. I have another deck that I love called the Tune In deck by Taylor Elise Morrison, which is kind of a self-inquiry sort of deck. So it asks like lots of reflection questions to sort of tune in to our own relationship to self. And then the Village has a really great card deck called Checking In, which is like a great deck that focuses on our well-being. So they have like different sections, and it's like meant to be like a conversation sort of game. So I really like that. So it's a great way to have like deep conversations with people about like how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of ourselves in community. So those are a few of some of the decks that I love.
I am so obsessed. It's also what's so cool about decks. I know I'm going a bit of a deck tangent, but it's kind of like makeup where you can almost never have enough. Like it's not like, oh, I bought this deck, so I can't buy this deck, or like books. It's like you can have many decks. Like this is an abundance vibe. Like
It's on like everything. Like people have decks on like their pets, like it, my eyes have been open to the types of ways and different types of decks that you can create like about anything. So I love that you mentioned that it's like an abundance sort of mindset when it comes to it, because anything you can dream up, you can have a deck. And another thing that I learned in this process is that you can have virtual decks, like actual, there's like an app called Deckable where you create yeah, where you can create a card deck that people can purchase and it's virtual. So that's really cool. And it's actually funny because like years ago, when I'm not super connected into what she's doing right now, but I used to like really follow Danielle Laporte, and she had a card deck years ago on conversation starters, and it was virtual. So it was so funny to see like years, like this was like probably 10, like 12 years ago. And now like seeing virtual card decks are like kind of making a bit of a resurgence. So that's also an option if you don't want to do like the physical route. You can actually create a virtual deck and people will get it, like looks like a deck of cards, but they can swipe through them. So that's something I think I'm like exploring for phase 2 of this once I get the physical out. But that is another option from a learning perspective that I think was like, I was like, oh, I see so many uses for this.
I'm so excited. Okay, we're gonna drop links, share links to the waitlist, and once your deck is live, also where everyone can buy it, and just like y'all get yourself some easeful ambition in your life. I have a couple more questions for you, then maybe we'll wrap with some rapid fire, but it doesn't have to be like super rapid. But knowing you for so long and watching your evolution, I'm very curious to know what is success to you nowadays? How would you describe what success actually looks like or feels like?
Oh gosh. I think that for me, like I've always loved Maya Angelou's like definition of success, which is like success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And it has served me well. And I think at various like points of life, it's usually maybe more of one over the other, where it's like I think very early on, it's like, oh, it's all about what I do. It's all about what my job is or how I'm succeeding in the job or the type of work that I'm doing. And like as you get older, as you like life happens, as you kind of just proceed through this journey, you realize like it can't just be overly focused on just the thing that we do, because we're so much more than that, right? Like we're so much more than a title or how we sort of exist in this machine of producing our labor, exchanging our labor for money, and it's all about like, how do you feel? Like, how do you relate to your, how do you relate to yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How do you, like, what community are you surrounded with or surrounded by? How are you pouring back into the community? So I think for me, my definition of success has definitely stayed rooted in that. But I feel like the change is that it's very much more rooted in focusing on all aspects of that versus hyper focusing on like one, and that one being like the work aspect. It's very much now what I see success is like, how am I doing? Like, how am I, like, how do I feel in the doing? Like, how am I relating to and being in community with my family and my friends, and how am I pouring back into community, right? Like, it's not only about extracting, it's like, how are we putting back in? What are we putting back in? And that has really been like top of mind. Is like, I'm an aunt, I'm a godmother. It's like, there's other folks, and with everything sort of literally on fire nowadays, it's like, I'm hyper focused on like, what is the world that we're leaving, that we're pouring back into. Like, there's been so much extraction, like literal extraction, and we're seeing the effects of that now. So it's like, what can I pour back in? Whether it's through volunteering, time, sharing, whatever that looks like. So I think that is also something that I'm holding into that definition of success too, where it's like, it's not only about just the labor or what I'm pulling, out of things. It's like, what am I putting back into things? Like, whether it's putting back into myself or putting back into the community.
I love that so much, because especially now, and where, say, like our economy is, and it does seem like there's like a scarcity mindset, to have people like yourself fill up your cup runneth over, so you have the ability to have the generosity of your time and giving more. Oh, that just feels amazing, and such a great reminder. Like, fill up your cup so then you can help others, but do it from a place of generosity versus extraction, as you said. I love that so much.
And like, there's another Maya Angelou quote. I'm probably going to mess it up, but like, to paraphrase it, it's sort of like, if you don't know what to do, like, focus on doing good, And I think that's another thing where it's like, a lot of times I don't know what to do. I think many people can relate to that. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but whatever I can do, like, let's try to do something positive or something that's productive or good, So I think that is something I'm also kind of holding on to as well too. It's like, let me take care of myself so that I have the energy and ability to do some of the things that I want to do and pour back into community.
So good. Before I get into the rapid fire, is there anything that I didn't ask you, any topics that you just want to share about, any kind of like anything that I didn't ask you that you want to talk about?
No, this was like a great conversation. I am curious about like, what's awesome for you right now, though, if I can ask you.
Yes. No, you cannot. No, I'm joking. What is awesome for me? I would say, well, first of all, you being in your presence. I was just thinking, there's certain people in your life. Like, I remember the moment I met you. Like, I remember the Italian restaurant with Pollyanna. It was like one of those, what do you call those? Like quantum moments where I'm like, Chivon's really important. Pay attention. Like something's happening here. So it is truly awesome to me to get to know you and to be in your presence now, but also just appreciate all of your support and love over the years. And something I always so appreciate about you that I think is awesome, that I want to have even more of in life, is you always celebrate when people win. Always. Whenever somebody we know something good's happening, you're always there being like, this is like amazing. Like, congratulations. Like, we need more people like celebrate, actually commenting, great job, and meaning it. So what's awesome is you. and you're an inspiration to me to be like a better person. That's my answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Gotta keep the good people around. And that is why I'm so blessed to, and I mean, I have a baby who's 3.5 months old, and it's awesome that his grandma, his nanny, can watch him well and have the space to have a podcast. What a joy. Okay, a few rapid fire questions for you. What is an awesome vacation spot that you highly recommend?
Ooh. Well, I have a soft spot for Bali because it was like a solo trip. I know it can be like touristy and all that kind of stuff, but like when I went there, the people were just so lovely. It was my last trip before the panorama. And it was just such a beautiful time because it just represented just like a different time, but it was just such a nice opportunity to go somewhere solo and just immerse myself into the trees, into the culture, and I really enjoyed it.
Love that. This is such a good one for you, an awesome self-care tip. What's an awesome self-care tip that you recommend?
Gosh. This is not going to be super sexy, but it's going to be about like just like leaning into the tool of like self-compassion. I think that the moment we stop, or that we start giving ourselves a bit of extra grace, it makes things so much easier. Like realizing that we have permission to take care of ourselves, permission to rest, realizing that we don't have to have everything figured out. We don't have to be perfect, that, it's okay if we have moments where we're feeling overwhelmed, or, back to the earlier question that you're in sort of in the dark period right now, just like having self-compassion and remembering that like those moments is a sign of our humanity, right? We don't want to go through life where you're sort of robotic, right? Like, I've been in those situations, and it's like it's a hard space to be where you're just completely numb. And it's just like it's important for us to just realize that like it's okay. Like you're not alone. Give yourself grace. Like every day I have to tell myself, like, you're doing this. Like I posted something today on my Instagram where I was like, hey friends, this is hard. I'm having a moment today. You are too. I see you, And that was just me being like, self-compassion. Like, I'm going to get up and do this walk. I'm going to be scowling through it, but and that's okay. Right. So I feel like self-compassion is the cheat code. And I know it's hard, but it's like, just allow. For me, it's like reminding myself that I'm human.
Oh man, that's good. I feel like I got to write down like just the self-compassion is the cheat code. That is so true. What is an awesome brand that you love right now? Or product?
I guess I'm probably just gonna go with like, and I don't even know if it's like, I'll just go with like what I use like something that I'm using all the time that I'm not even realizing I'm using. It's gonna sound so silly. It's my AirPods.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like I'll go for walks, and sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I like to listen without anything. But like throughout the day, I might listen to like binaural beats, which is, like the nice calming sort of music. I might use my AirPods to do like guided meditations for breath work. So I didn't really realize like how much I use them. So I would say that. And I guess the second runner up is my weighted blanket.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
So, and I don't know the brand of it, but like me and that blanket, I love it. So
that sounds so nice right now. What is one awesome piece of advice that you have received?
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank now of when it's coming to me. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna like paraphrase it, but I think it's like about not being afraid to actually give your work a voice. And I think I spent a lot of time, believing that, and this came from lots of conditioning or whatever, but it's like, you have to let your work speak for itself. Mm-hmm. And it's like learning, like, no, give your work a voice, right? You have to let people know. It's okay to let people know what you're doing. It's safe to be seen trying. It's safe to let people see you. And I think that like hearing that has been really helpful, is like, the things that we do are important to us, and it's okay to let people know. You should let people know. Like, they want to know, they want to support you. And it's like, you're doing a disservice by keeping it quiet, because the person who might need it the most is not going to know. So I think that would be advice that has like stuck with me.
That's so good. I was also going to ask you two more, like, what is one final piece of advice you want to give people? You kind of just gave me that great advice, but is there any additional final words of wisdom for the people today?
Yeah, final words of wisdom. I would just say, just to remember that like, we are like our most important, asset in this life. And no matter like what it is that, the job, what we're doing, the job that we have, all of the different ambitious pursuits, none of that is possible without our focus on our like mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being. And you have permission to prioritize it, especially now more than ever. Whatever that looks like in whatever accessible ways, because I know we can have a whole other conversation about accessibility and all the different aspects of things about wellness and all how that needs to be reimagined. But I think ultimately I want people to know that, like, let the focus on your self-care and your well-being kind of be your foundation and your anchor point. And also know that we don't have to go through life, alone. And it's important for us to kind of lean on those community anchors that we have, that we don't have to be self-reliant in taking care of ourselves.
And how can listeners connect with you, or if companies or people want to work with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so you can get in touch with me at my website, which is chivonjohn.com, or my email is info@chivonjohn.com. There is a new Lightwork website coming, but you can get all the info from my existing website. But the Lightwork website is dropping soon, which I'm really excited about. But that's the best way, is through my Chivon website to access and connect with me right now.
Amazing.
And all the other things, all the social platforms.
Yes. Everyone, you need to follow Chivon. Like, just, you must, like, absolutely. Chivon, thank you so much for your time today. It's just a gift, honestly, to speak with you. I feel like I can breathe better after I talk to you.
Thank you. I love our conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Excited to see you next week.